This video is going to show you how to access databases through your high school's media center and just a basic recommendation on databases to use for this particular project. I'm going to be working off the Catoctin High School page simply because that is my media center. However, I do want to show you that most of our webpage or our websites are set up very similarly. So, if you're on the Catoctin High School website and you hover over Media Center, there's an option for databases for research. If you click on that, it takes you to a Google Doc that provides you with a list of all of the all of the databases that are available and links to them, in addition to passwords that you may need if you access them at home. As you can see, I'm going to show you Walkersville and Brunswick's Media Center page as well. You're going to be able to access a very similar Google Doc that's set up in the same way and has the same type of links. It's just that you'll be looking at the databases through the Walkersville lens or the Brunswick lens or whatever other high school that you are from, as opposed to the Catoctin one. So with Walkersville, if you just click on Media Center, we all have a link that shows up in the middle of the page that says click here for database descriptions and passwords. And then as you can see, it's going to open up a very similar Google Doc as to the one that I opened up on the Catoctin page. And then the same thing happens with Brunswick. If I go to the Media Center, there in the middle of the page is a place to click for database passwords, descriptions, and then they have links to those databases here. Okay. So I'm going to go back to work with Catoctin since that's the one I know best. But just be aware you can go to any one of your high school's media center web pages and link to that Google Doc. So you don't have to necessarily use Catoctin's. All right. So the two databases that I'm going to recommend you use for this technology project both involve looking at the concept as an issue that is current. Okay, so a current like contemporary issue. So if you scroll down, the first one that I'd recommend you use is opposing viewpoints in context. Okay. If you click on this, it'll take you directly to the database. And a database is basically like a place in which many different sources, magazines, newspapers, journals, radio stations put all their content so you can search one place but access thousands of different sources. So opposing viewpoints in context is great because you could either search. So for example, I'm going to search social media teenagers because I want to take a look at how it has impacted the way in which teenagers function. And I might make that more specific as I read. And so it's got quite, especially with the news articles, it has a manageable number of sources that I can use. But another way that you could potentially search is to browse the different issues, and they have a ton of them listed here, which can be a little overwhelming, but I know I want to scroll down here and see if there's a link for social media, which there is. And look, just above it is a link for smartphones. So maybe you want to cater your research to looking at smartphones. Okay, so if I click on social media, then it pulls up a page with, again, a number of different sources. It's trying to load right here. See, there's 6 viewpoint articles, 205 other viewpoint articles, 9 different statistical charts, 58,000 news articles. So that's why searching might make things a little bit more manageable, but at the same time, this page is structured and designed to meet the needs of anybody wanting to research social media. So the thing is if I want to focus on teenagers, I'm going to have to kind of sift through what I have in here to use towards my research. Okay. So let's see. I just want to find a article to show you how to use it. So let's do this one. There's a Washington Post article from October. All right, so I click on that, and then you'll see it's not that long of an article. It's a Washington Post article, which is great because we know that most of the time Washington Post is a pretty reputable source that has a lot of vetted, reliable information in it. Okay, so let's say I want to use this article in I read it, I determine that it's an article I want to use. There's a couple of things you can do with this. Up here, you can sign in with Google, and it will connect to your Google account. Excuse me. And then it will then work within your Google Drive. And then over here, you can click download and save it to your Google Drive so that the article is then in your Google Drive. You don't necessarily have to go back to Opposing Viewpoints in Context to find it. That's especially cool because if you highlight any bit of text within the article and click highlight, you can pick a color and you can take notes on it. When you download it to your My Drive, it's going to show up in a folder called Opposing Viewpoints in Context, and it will maintain all of your highlights and notes. So it's just like if you were to print out an article and write notes on it as you're reading it, it's just doing that for you digitally. The other great thing that I'm going to talk about in a separate screencast is the fact that it works within EasyBib. So I'll get you into EasyBib in the next screencast, but just know that once you click Citation Tools, you can hit Export to EasyBib, and then the citation, and you want to make sure your citations are in MLA 8. That's the most recent version of the MLA sourcebook. You hit Export to EasyBib, the citation shows up right in EasyBib. So that is Opposing Viewpoints in Context, okay? Again, you can search specific terms or you can browse issues. I'd recommend you not search something like the word technology. That's why we did all of the brainstorming at the beginning of class about what different topics we can examine and what questions we might have about them. Now, I wouldn't ask a question either. You'll notice I wrote social media teenagers, okay? But then cater that towards the question that you came up with to help develop your claim. Okay, so that is Opposing Viewpoints in Context. There's one other database I would like to show you. So I'm going to go back to the Databases and Passwords Google Doc, and I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and it's called SIRS Knowledge Source. It's set up very similarly to Opposing Viewpoints in Context in that the whole point of this database is to look at current issues, current topics that have controversy surrounding it, multiple sides of the issue that have been examined in different contexts. So it's very similar. So again, you can do a search here. You can search by subject or keyword. Keyword is when you want to put in more specific search terms versus like a subject search of social media. Okay, so if we just search that, okay, so it comes up with 81 newspaper articles, 8 magazines, no reference, a government document, again, some multimedia, which is like videos and radio broadcasts and statistics, okay? But if we go to, let's go back, and view all issues, again, we can see if there is a social media button. Nope, doesn't look like that, but we can see if maybe there's a technology and privacy. Okay, so that definitely ties into that whole idea of social media, especially because social media makes things very unprivate. So similar to, let's see, if we just choose text to message, China gets a peek. Okay, so this has to do with surveillance by different government entities of any type of social media. So let's say you want to use this in your article. Again, you can save this to Google Drive, much like the one you do with the ones in Opposing Viewpoints in Context. The only thing is you can't really highlight and take notes on it. You'll just save it to Google Drive and then do that there. And then you can also, again, export this citation directly to EasyBib. And I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. So it's got a lot of the same functionality as Opposing Viewpoints in Context. Okay. So that is that for the 2 databases I'm recommending you use. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask me. Otherwise, utilize this, this video as you work your way through the 2 databases. Thank you very much.